guys, so this is What If Asta Had the Omnitrix Part 1. Now, if you know, I did make this idea a year ago or a couple months back, but I canceled it because I couldn't find the recording and also the script to make this What If. But that's changed. And also, I wanted to do this one so I can replace my my video cut out a little bit, so I can replace my what if Irma had the Omnitrix. Now that one, I guess I just fell out of the story and I just grew out of that I grew out of that storyline. I just don't like the character, and I like the character, I like the storyline and everything like that, but I just haven't watched the anime and I've grown out of it and I just don't like it. And Black Clover is the type of anime you can watch again, like in the morning, or maybe in the afternoon, or maybe even nighttime, and you can just get back into it. And it has that type of feel where, you know, you're connected to the characters. The characters have certain points and certain, I guess, downfalls and pretty much flaws to them that make them somewhat human as an anime character can be. So, pretty much, I just wanted to make this what if because last time I said I was going to make this what if, and some people were pretty excited for it. But I'm going to be doing it, finally. And yeah, let's dive right into the story. I'll start the story off with episode 1 of Black Clover Season 1. As Asta and Yuno are dropped off from the church, and basically, well, they're welcome in. We get switched 15 years later as Asta and Yuno, we get introduced about their dynamic between each other. And Yuno is a very special, gifted person with magic ability. But Asta, on the other hand, doesn't exhibit any type of magical ability whatsoever. So far as people saying that he doesn't even have magic to begin with. As Asta is obsessed with being the Wizard King. Basically wanting to be the Wizard King majority of his whole life. As, well, Yuno has more of the advantage because he's very, very, very skilled with magic. And he's just better than Asta to everybody else's eyes. Asta is filled with not jealousy, but also kind of, not resentment, but more or less a rivalry between, you know, him wanting to rival him in every possible way. Yuno just, well, keeps up with this because, well, he doesn't want to act off as in an angrily way because, honestly, he admires that Asta still thinks and also still has the hope of him becoming the Wizard King. But pretty much Asta, you know, still has that, you know, spirited type of personality. Now, the episode goes similar to the same with the series. The first couple of minutes of the, you know, episode goes similar to the same. Asta argues with, you know, pretty much, you know, and also, he also, you know, sorry, I don't know why I'm saying also so much, but basically, he does flirt with Lily. He does still flirt with Lily, the nun girl there, as he still tries to flirt with her and pretty much make her his or whatnot, basically saying, when I become the Wizard King, I'm going to marry you and blah, blah, blah. All that bull he was saying. Now, me personally, Lily is cool. She's pretty attractive. Me personally, though, the white-haired wizard girl later on in the series, all I'm saying. But basically, what happens after that is the episode goes similarly the same until we get introduced to Asta after the grimoires are, well, given out. After the grimoires are given out and the story evolves and other things like that, on the way back home after the grimoires are given out and Asta is showed up because he doesn't get a grimoire at all. As Asta is filled with rage and all sorts of different emotions and also sadness. As he's in the monster skull the Wizard King killed all those years ago, as he's sitting there filled with rage and more or less just sadness, but still having hope that he could possibly still be a Wizard King even if he doesn't have magic, even if he can just muster up just a little bit of magic to become a Wizard King. But what happens changes the course of this whole story from that point on. What happens changes everything. Everything in that universe is changed, and also different characters and story plots are brought into this universe. And it all starts with the middle orb with something very special inside of it. As Asta is sitting there just thinking about what happened, as he looks around, as he hears some sort of sonic boom or wave come towards him. As he looks up in the sky and he sees a meteorite, as he can see, or something falling down to the ground. As he thinks it's a shooting star because it's about nighttime or turning dark by this time around. As he looks up and out of nowhere, the shooting star makes a 360 straight towards Asta, literally like it's pinpointing Asta, like it's going after him. As Asta starts to run for it, as eventually the thing crashes about 6 feet away from him, pushing Asta into a bush nearby. As he gets out of the bush, as he takes a stick and pokes at the middle orb. The middle orb opens up and it shows some sort of wrist type bracelet thing, or a watch as in modern terms as we would describe it. But for Asta, it looks like more of a gauntlet type wrist type, I guess, strap or bracelet. As he looks at it closer and closer and goes to grab it, as it latches onto Asta's arm or wrist. As Asta tries to pull it off time and time again, trying to rip it off, and even with all his muscles, can't muster to take it off at all. It's like it's sutured or welded to his skin. But Asta looks at it closer and closer and eventually tries to mess with it. As he's in the pretty much forest at this point, as he wandered off, as he unlocks the Omnitrix and pops it open. As he looks in it closer, as he grabs the dial, and the dial is popped open. As the dial is up, as he tweaks the dial left and right, again and again and again, eventually coming to a silhouette, a type of silhouette that's very big and bulky and diamond-like. As he presses onto it, he's enveloped with a green light, as out of nowhere, he opens his eyes as he sees that his body feels clanky, but also very powerful. As he looks at his hands and he sees that they're straight up diamond-like, like an aqua type of glass. As he looks at his hands, as he's freaking out. Now for, pretty much people, for imagination, the way you would picture these characters in this anime, as I'm narrating it, probably just the anime, anime art where alien or Benton aliens are in anime. Just imagine those in the anime art. The same art Asta and Nero and the Black Clover universe is in. I know the Black Clover animation is kind of budgeted and sometimes it looks super weird. Same thing with My Hero, but same. But I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna stop talking about that. But get back into the story. So after Asta looks at himself, as he starts to play around actually, as Asta still freaks out a little bit like Ben Tennyson did in the original, in the fan fiction is based off of, or the Omnitrix is based off of, as he still freaks out like Ben Tennyson did at first, but he eventually warms up to it as he starts to play around with Diamond Head's abilities, using his Diamond Head like abilities to shoot diamond spikes and other things and projectiles into the forest, training his aim as he eventually hits a nearby target, breaking the tree in half, the diamond pretty much projectile going right through the tree. As Asta's looking around, as he hears clanking or big metal shards or like chains wrapping around in the front of the church. As he looks around, as he runs back there, him figuring out that he can use diamond manipulation to propel himself forward, kind of like Iceman does with his ice. And in this canon, Diamond Head's abilities are a lot more unique, as Diamond Head can literally crystallize the air, as he doesn't even need to make, a pillar to a certain floor or object to diamond over a bridge or a slide that he does in the comics. I mean, not comics, but in the show, as he can literally crystallize the air, same way Iceman pretty much, freezes the air so he can make that ice type of pretty much movement, or pretty much I don't know what it's called, but slide thing he does, the thing he did in like Spider-Man and Amazing Friends when he moved around and he sort of flied, I guess. And the same thing that Iceman and Lego Marvel superheroes can do, where he can glide around on ice. So basically Diamond Head can do the same thing, because I might change up a lot of powers of the alien characters, and I also might add in mainstream alien characters in Asta's roster, like maybe a Yautja or a Predator, or maybe a Nave. So basically, and you don't know what Nave is, the blue aliens from Avatar. So basically, what happens is Asta gets there. As he looks around, as he sees his brother, Asta shows up as he sees, basically fighting, or basically, messing with these bullies, or trying to steal his grimoire, like in the pretty much house or tower where everybody was getting their grimoire at. Now, I did say earlier, the episode goes through the same, because, still gets picked on and still is labeled as the failure of the town, since he can't even use magic, and plus he doesn't even get a grimoire. So what happens is Asta runs over there and starts to fight, and basically uses his diamond head abilities to stop the chains from attacking them. As eventually he starts to dodge and weave all the attacks, eventually him being caught up in one of the chains as he gets pushed down into the ground. As Asta's on the ground, as eventually he times out. As Asta's chains, basically, they fitted Diamond Head's body, but not Asta's body. So Asta was able to dodge or weave out of the chains, basically getting a solid left hook on the protagonist, or the villain of this episode's face, knocking him out clean. Because Asta's a pretty strong dude without magic. Just him being in the real world, he would be pretty strong, because his muscles underneath his suit are stupid. It's a different level of anime concealing muscles, like how One Punch Man looks skinny and just a flat body type, as in without his shirt on or without his hero costume on. Man looks like a whole Spider-Man, bro. Man's look like Captain America. It's crazy, but basically happens is Asta still, or pretty much Asta and Nero, or the guy, still gets taked out and straight up dropped. And, pretty much, but basically, in this story, it kind of changes a little bit. Because in the original, Asta fought the guy and he realized that he can never use magic, but he also overcame that with the Black Grimoire choosing him. But with this universe, what happened after the guy with the chains would have been beaten, now doing the whole entire thing, Asta would have fought him, same as in original, but he would have been getting somewhat bodied by pretty much the chains. And the same time, while he was cornered and hit with the chain from the back, hit with the chains with the back on the chest, or the back of his back, as he gets pushed down to the ground. That still would have happened, just with him in Diamond Head form and not hurting as much. But when he timed out, he would have still been slightly injured, but he would have been able to get free and hit the guy with a clear left hook, knocking him out. But it would still come to Asta that he could never use magic. But him still being bought off of that, and him thinking that the Omnitrix is magic, as he looks at it with pure, amazement in it. As out of nowhere, the Omnitrix starts to freak out because of the magic around it, as eventually it opens up. The Omnitrix opens up with a bright, blinding light that no one can see past of, no matter how much magic they put on their eyes, no matter how many spells they have, as it pops out and a Omnitrix-like book. A book that only a certain number of people, even Galvins on Galvin Prime, couldn't even read half of it. But it being in a certain specific language that would correlate with, pretty much Asta's brain. It being able to be read to Asta, and also pretty much, I can't remember his name, but the guy that made the Omnitrix, I don't remember his name, I remember his name. Put him down in the comments. I had to Google him up real quick, because I haven't watched Benton in a long time. So what happens is, he looks at the Omnitrix, and also looks at the grimoire, or the book. Now this grimoire is basically just a very thick book on the abilities, the powers, and literally a endless book. So when Asta needs a Omnitrix transformation, like a read through, or basically a certain Omnitrix or a certain alien that he needs in that specific moment, or a certain alien he needs to do, pretty much studies on the book, he just opens up the book and the book gives him that page immediately. So it's an endless high-tech book aka like an alien type Omnitrix grimoire. So the design of it is basically like the black grimoire, but a lot more neater with white and blue, a white and green color scheme with the Omnitrix logo on the front. As it's very cool. As he opens it up, and it's like a LED light, where basically the reading shows pictures, also words, and a power set of all the aliens. As he flips through it, seeing Diamond Head, and also pretty much Heat Blast, Wildvine. Oh my gosh, man, I forgot these names. I should have really read over these. Wild Mutt, Ditto, and also other sort of aliens. Now, I'm gonna start off Asta with the main aliens Ben had throughout the, first classic show he had. Basically, like all the aliens Ben Tennyson had in the first 2010 Ben 10 show. So basically, Ben will have the classic plus Ditto. So we get away from that. So Asta and Nero are talking as Nero asks what's up with the wrist thing and the book. As Asta says, well, wouldn't you like to know? As he walks off with a smug smile on his face, being, happy that now he can use magic. Now he thinks he can use magic. He has a chance of becoming the next Wizard King. And that's where we're going to leave it off here, guys. I don't have a lot of storage, so I'm not going to make this video super long. And yeah, I just realized, because since I got iPhone storage sucks. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Visit